All right, a quick look at the Hayek Keynes essay, if anybody wants to take this one. So there is this website here. I'll put a link in. PBS, this is basically a PBS show about the book Commanding Heights. It talks about the debate in the 20th century of the liberal economists versus the conservative economists. But if you look at chapters 1 through 8, actually, it gives you a fairly good idea of the differences between Mr. Hayek and Mr. Keynes. Again, in my PowerPoint slides, I talk about the rise of Keynes is because during the Great Depression, Roosevelt spent so much money on the New Deal, they went into debt, and it worried a lot of people. But Keynes comes around and says, don't worry, a little bit of debt is not a problem. You want to stimulate the economy, get things going, and then eventually it will raise the tax revenue so you can pay off that debt. Again, Keynes has a specific role for government to play. And here is his famous formula where aggregate demand, basically everything created in the economy, can be divided up into three things: consumer spending, interest off investments, and government spending. So when things go bad, people aren't buying things, the C, consumer spending, the G's got to go up. And again, that will lift aggregate demand. Like during the Great Depression, they have the WPA, right? The government put people to work digging ditches and a lot of other things. So again, Keynes also writes a whole book about what not to do after world wars, because after World War I, he and both Hayek were against the Treaty of Versailles because punishing a country economically will just lead to a rise in totalitarianism, right? Lead in the rise of Hitler or communism, which they were both against, Keynes and Hayek. So here's Mr. Hayek. There's his mentor, Ludwig von Mises. You can read about him if you want, but it's not really that necessary. But basically, Hayek is a laissez-faire guy. He says the markets are too complex. Keynes says when spending is down, when there is a recession, the government has to step in. Hayek says this is too complex for the government to understand. That it's just, it's very simple. If you look at a modern business nowadays, how many decisions have to go on of, buying and selling, parts and everything that goes together in manufacturing, and the selling side is just too complex for government to understand. And it's just got to be done with this, the markets, and the markets have to take control. And for Hayek, again, government has two roles, though, right? Again, they want to have laws and rules so businesses understand basically how to deal with one another. And you need a constant money supply. He's a very interesting guy, Mr. Hayek. But again, Keynes is, not completely opposite, but opposite in that the government has a role to, again, stop these boom and bust. They both don't want to have, depressions. They both want the economy to work smoothly because they're, again, afraid of totalitarianism if there is a Great Depression again. So for Keynes, it's, government planning, government involvement. Again, he's a socialist, basically. In England, again, after the war, he is for the government getting involved in buying the coal and steel and the rails from private hands and put it in the government. Right? Hayek, that's just horrible for Hayek. It's just for him. He writes the book The Road to Freedom, or Road to Serfdom, excuse me, The Road to Slavery, where if government gets too much involved, it's just going to create this slavery to government kind of in effect, the socialism is. He's very worried about it. So it's an interesting time. Again, Keynes will be the leading economic theory after World War I, up until the end of the 70s. And then, well, Mr. Hayek will come into event. So if you choose to do this essay, I'll attach that link to the website and take a look at these little clips if you want. And then you also have the piece of paper you can fill out and bring to the test with your 20 questions. Any questions, just give me a call. No, you don't give me a call. Give me an email. But good luck.